Hi, everybody. It's Stacey Sowell back with another edition of What's Happening in a Data-Driven 2021. And I said 2020 the other day, so I had to make sure I said 2021. But I'm here with Stefanie Fox from Talent Match. She's going to be one of our speakers. And Stefanie, you've done some amazing research in the area of cosmetology students coming out of school and what they want in a new job and how they look for jobs and what they want in their new next work environment. So talk us a little bit through that research. And is this the second version of the study you've done?
It is, yes. So I did the first study in 2020, and then we just wrapped the conclusion and analysis of the 2021 survey. So it started actually many versions of the survey have been going on for about 8 years. And the biggest one obviously kicked off in 2020, thanks to both Paul Mitchell and Aveda schools really getting on board and helping support getting it into students' hands. And so the idea was we're having all these challenges building teams across our industry. And now it's obviously bigger than ever. But this even started before that real pain point was as emerging as it is. And I thought, if we're going to solve this, we need to know what they think. Not what we think, not what salon owners, feel like the solution is, but what is actually going on in the heads of our workforce. So I just drafted a survey that really helped identify both how they find their job, where they're looking and what matters when they start the search. We go through the interview process. We go through what matters in terms of perks and benefits, why they would leave. I asked the kind of dreaded, do you want a booth rent question, and get some really interesting data back on that. And so I feel like what's the most fun about these surveys is, number one, I'm excited to share at Data-Driven how much has changed from the 2020 to 2021, because there's some real key insights that I feel like when we know these, we can actually recruit well. If we're not coming in blind, we can make a plan. So I'm so excited to share. And I can give some teasers if you want me to.
Giving away everything that you're going to give away at Data-Driven, what were some of the changes you saw from, we're just talking 1 year's time?
Yeah, well, so in 2020, when I asked the question, how do you find a job? 3 things came into play. They told us, number one, schools, hands down. The students said, that's where I go to find my job. And then what was tied for second was Instagram and Indeed. And you think, okay, Indeed, it's a job platform, so of course they go there. Instagram felt a little more interesting because there's no job functionality, but they're telling us, okay, it's the most important in that second, schools and then these 2. So 2021 comes along and Instagram took a massive leap to number 1 as the way I find a job. And schools and Indeed actually fell into the second and third spot. And so for me, as somebody that studies our workforce and works with teams on recruitment strategies and execution, I'm like, wow, that changes everything. We don't want to forget about the schools. They matter. They're still in that top 3. And we have to think of it. I imagine kind of how consumers function, right? Consumers find out about a brand and then they go to other places to learn more. And it's the same thinking. Our workforce is like a consumer. So they find out about our brand either on Instagram or in a school or on Indeed, but then they're looking in all the places to know more. Right. So we still have to be showing up in all the places, but I think that was the biggest, a non-job tool is the way they find their jobs.
Right. Well, and it kind of makes sense because that's where they live most of their lives. Well, they live a lot of their lives on Instagram. So they might not see job recruitment ads on Instagram, but they're probably checking out the salons they've heard about on Instagram, and because that's where they can kind of creep around and find out what the culture feels like, right?
Well, and that's exactly why it makes the most sense, is because they tell us the number one thing they care about when picking a job is culture. And where else can you go to actually get a real glimpse of the internal workings of a brand? Like the visuals, the videos, the content that's written inside of the post, that tells us so much. And they're going there and they're actively trying to figure out, who are these people? Would I fit here? Would I like this team?
And if you don't show up there, then they don't have that knowledge on you, right? So,
well, and that's what I'm really excited to talk about at Data-Driven is teaching people how to actually do that online assessment for their recruitment health, because that Instagram profile you have that currently serves just consumers. And in a lot of cases, unfortunately, it's not even doing that well. Like we haven't fully adopted the practice of using Instagram for attracting clients. Well, now it's our tool to also attract staff. So we have to really think about like, what does that mean? What should live on our Instagram? How frequently should we post? Like, so I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do an audit of that tool, since they do tell us it's our number one way of finding a job.
And the other thing I'm really excited about you sharing is you've taken the data that you've gleaned from these surveys and you're using it now to coach salons how to recruit better, and you're getting some interesting results. So you're going to share a few of those case studies. So talk about what kind of things we'll be seeing in that portion of the talk.
Yeah, so some of the big salon brands that you guys will know when you hear me release the case studies, what I've done is I've done the online recruitment audit for them. And I've gone back and said, okay, here are the gaps and here are the recommendations, again, based on the research. You know, this is nothing that I'm making up and hoping works, but really just going straight to like, what does the workforce tell us?
What does the data tell us?
Yeah, what does the data tell us? I'm such a data nerd, so this is my favorite conference ever, every single year. And so I'm going to be showing, you know, here's where they were when we started this and I did their online assessment and audit, and then here's the changes they made, and now here are the results that they're having. So I'm really excited to be able to showcase some of the things that are really working. And honestly, for me, I know the pain of recruiting, and I feel like talking to like salons right now, it's all I hear about, not just because I work in this lane, but because I have a lot of salon owner friends. And if we can do one thing to alleviate like that big pain, like I'm happy. Like I just want everybody to feel better. I know how stressful it is, and it doesn't have to be. So I'm really excited to help you guys figure out why it doesn't have to be.
Well, Stefanie, thanks so much. I mean, that's part of why I love Data Driven so much too, is that it is a peer-led conference. So the ideas that people are sharing are things that they've tried in their own salons, or as in your case, in salons that are your customers, and then they're real world actionable ideas that have been tried. So thank you very much. I'm so excited for your session, and for everyone out there, Data Driven is going to be co-located this year at America's Beauty Show, September 12th and 13th in Chicago. So go to datadrivensalon.com for the whole schedule and tickets. And Stefanie, we'll see you then. We can't wait.
Yeah, me too. See everybody then.